You may have seen this video where I went over a 9.1.4 versus 7.1.6 setup. Talk about stepping into the big leagues, am I right? But if that video made you consider, hey wait, do I need to invest in a 13-channel setup now? What are my options as far as receivers and preamps that can handle that many channels? Well, let's talk about it. This video is sponsored by Crutchfield.
Summer is in full swing and the July deals are scorching hot. Big savings and discounts on select TVs. Save up to $400 on select clip speakers and subs. Save up to $570 on select home theater receivers. Save up to $700 on select soundbar systems. And so much more. Award-winning customer service, free shipping on all orders $35 or more, and standard delivery in 2 business days or less to the continental United States. The sale begins July 14th and ends July 21st, so don't hesitate to add some upgrades to your summer vibes. Get it all at crutchfield.com.
Here's the thing about 13 channels. When I mentioned big leagues, I meant it. You're probably going to need to think about investing in a pre-pro, TBH. Let me start with this little side note. The list I'm about to provide is mostly new products that are more readily available right now in 2024. If some of these products intrigue you, but you're wondering if there's an older version still available on Amazon or eBay or whatever, or where you might find a refurbished unit, I'm going to let you be the one to research that. I don't need you commenting about,
well, you missed the Denon Whoozy Whatsits that's been out for 8 years.
Yeah, sure, okay, but I'm trying to keep this video as succinct as possible. You're welcome. So, before I get into the AVR category, let me just give you the bad news about some of your favorite brands. Yamaha, no support for 13 channels. Onkyo, Integra, Pioneer, no support for 13 channels. NAD, caps out at 11 channels. Sorry to disappoint any of you folks with that news. So which receivers, meaning those with their own internal amps to power speakers, which ones can handle up to 13 channels? Well, let's start with the receivers that have an asterisk next to them because they can only process that many channels with the help of an additional external amp. And we'll start with the Denon X6800H. All the literature says that it's an 11.4 channel receiver, but as we can see from the amp assign section of the manual, plays back up to 13.1 channels at the same time. But scrolling down in the manual, we can see that there is an external amp powering 2 of the speakers. So just be aware of that since you may need to make an additional purchase to get your 7.x.6 or 9.x.4 system. Or maybe you already have a 2-channel amp lying around your house. I guess that's possible too. The X6800H you can get for $34.99 US as of this recording. Onto its cousin, the Marantz Cinema 30. Same story, different name. You need an external amp to power 2 of the channels to process up to 13 channels. And again, the Cinema 30 supports up to 4 subwoofers and Dirac Live if you want to spend the extra cash for those licenses. It is currently $4,500 US. But one thing to note about the lucky number 13, if you're into Auro 3D, that's the max number of channels you need anyway. No word yet if new Auro BV plans on expanding that to a 15.1 setup someday, but for now, a 13.1 Auro 3D setup gives you 7 ear level speakers and 6 heights, but not the 6 you're thinking of. You have front heights, surround heights, a center height, and the infamous voice of God straight above you. Yes, you'll still need an external amp to pull it off, but no need to go beyond 13 channels if your goal is to have the largest Auro 3D configuration possible. Just FYI. Beyond that, when it comes to Denon in particular, there is also the X8500HA, or 8500HA, which has 13 amps inside and can process up to 13 channels simultaneously, but has connections for up to 15 channels. That means if you have enough speakers connected, it's much easier to switch between a 13.1 Auro 3D setup and a 9.x.4 or 7.x.6 Atmos or DTS:X configuration, since you won't need to disconnect and reconnect anything. It'll just switch and play audio out of the intended speakers on its own when it detects the incoming audio signal. Pretty slick, I know. But it'll cost you $45.99 US. And lastly, just in case this intrigues you and you want 13 channels for a while, but want the flexibility of going even beyond 13 channels without needing to go buy another AVR, there is the flagship Denon A1H. Same idea as the 8500H, but it has 15 internal amps, can process up to 15 channels simultaneously, but you can connect up to 17 channels. What does this mean? Well, again, a much easier way to switch between a true 13.1 Auro 3D configuration and a massive 9.x.6 configuration without needing to mess with any wires. Oh, and a Dirac Live license can be purchased at an additional cost, if you so choose. It currently costs $64.99. Wow. Next, Sony STR-AZ7000ES. This one already has 13 internal amps. Nice. It supports Atmos, DTS:X, IMAX Enhanced, but not Auro 3D. But it does have Sony's fancy schmancy 360 spatial sound mapping tech. So if you're into that, maybe this is your best bet. It also supports only up to 2 subwoofers. And it's the cheapest of the bunch that supports 13 channels without the need of an additional external amp, costing $3,298 as of this recording. Moving on, Anthem MRX 1140. The interesting thing about Anthem AVRs is that they typically only have 7 internal amps, but the MRX 1140 can handle up to a 15-channel setup with the help of external amps. Weird, I know. But just be aware that Anthem products across the board do not support Auro 3D. They do support Atmos, DTS:X, and even IMAX Enhanced, but not Auro for whatever reason. It is currently going to set you back $4,199 US. Similar to the Anthem, the Arcam AVR 21 and AVR 31 have 7 internal amps, but can process up to 15 channels of audio with the help of external amps. And also Atmos, DTS:X, and Auro 3D support, but no IMAX Enhanced support. But Arcam does come with direct live room correction software at no additional cost. Although if you want direct bass control, that will be an additional expense. The AVR 21 and 31 are $4,700 and $6,900 respectively. Next up, JBL Synthesis SDR-38. This is basically the same as the Arcam AVR 31 since it has 7 internal amps but can handle up to a 15.1 system. One thing to note is that this AVR has everything already. Atmos, DTS:X, Auro 3D, IMAX Enhanced, direct live room correction, and bass control built in at no additional cost. But the amps inside are extremely efficient Class G amps. So it's going to cost you $8,550. Yikes. Okay, that takes care of the AVRs. So now let's hit on some pre-pros that might interest you. Just a reminder, a pre-pro does not have any internal amps at all. So this means it is absolutely necessary to power all of your speakers with 1 or more external amps. You've been warned. And let's start with the 3 cousins, the Emotiva MC1, Tonewinner AT300, and the preamp that I currently use in my theater, the IOTA AVX17. They are all roughly the same OEM components, but with their own slight signature differences. Although one difference is that the MC1 does not have any XLR outputs for the main speakers, only RCA, which keeps the cost down because it is the most inexpensive of the bunch, coming in at $1,199 as of this recording. Although it does have 2 XLR pre-outs for the subwoofer, if you have compatible connections on the back of your subs. The Tonewinner AT300 does have XLR connections and supports up to 3 subwoofers, while the IOTA AVX17 also has XLR pre-outs and supports up to 4 subwoofers. All 3 of these do not support 8K or HDMI 2.1 or next-gen gaming features, nor Auro 3D or IMAX Enhanced, and they all have their own proprietary version of room correction software. So honestly, these are meant to be your budget pre-pros focused solely on good audio without a lot of fluff to keep costs down. The AT300 is $1,375 and the AVX17 is $1,949 as of this recording. There was also the Monoprice Monolith HTP1, which processes up to 15 channels. It supports Atmos, DTS:X, and Auro 3D, but to keep costs down, it does not support HDMI 2.1, 8K video, or next-gen gaming features. It says it supports Direct Live and is bass control compatible, so I can only imagine that means bass control is an added expense. It currently costs $3,999 as of this recording. The only preamp that Marantz offers is the flagship AV10. It's really the same scenario as the Denon A1H, but the big difference is that it does not have any internal amps. But it can also process up to 15 channels simultaneously while being able to connect up to 17 channels for easy switching between Auro 3D and everything else. Direct Live and bass control can be purchased separately, and it supports up to 4 independent subwoofers. But it's going to cost you $7,000 as of this recording. Back to Anthem, they offer the AVM70 and AVM90 preamp processors. Again, no Auro 3D support, but the main difference between the two is that the AVM90 supports up to 4 independent subwoofers, and they can both process up to 15 channels simultaneously. And one thing I haven't mentioned yet is that Anthem products all come with its own Arc Genesis room correction, which some claim is one of the best out there. The AVM70 8K and AVM90 are currently $3,999 and $7,499 respectively. Arcam does offer a preamp, which is the AV41. Up to 15 channels of processing, direct live room correction built in, but bass control is extra. Atmos, DTS:X, and Auro 3D support. And one thing to note about Anthem and Arcam products, they all have an emphasis on being incredibly versatile when it comes to music and movies. Mainly because they have premium ESS Sabre Pro DACs inside. That's one of the reasons they tend to be more expensive than other products with comparable features inside. The Arcam AV41 is currently $5,250 as of this recording. Back to JBL, there is the Synthesis SDP-58 preamp processor. Like the SDR-38, it has everything you could possibly need built in, including direct live and bass control, Atmos, DTS:X, Auro 3D, IMAX Enhanced, even Dante support, which allows connections of all your channels over a standard Cat5 or Cat6 Ethernet cable, which provides much easier cable management if you happen to have some compatible JBL Synthesis amps to power those speakers. And just to note, you can connect any speakers you'd like to this pre-pro, but the SDP-58 was specifically designed to pair well with the JBL Synthesis. But the SDP-58 was specifically designed to pair well with the JBL Synthesis line of speakers and subwoofers. Not cheap, but apparently extremely cohesive sound when you have all JBL products along that signal chain. The SDP-58 is currently $6,900 as of this recording. Lastly, just real quick, if you're thinking of going the pre-pro route and you need external amps to power your system, here is a quick rundown of companies that offer such products. Emotiva Basic Series amps are the most affordable, ranging from monoblock all the way up to 11 channels of amplification. Outlaw Audio has 2, 5, and 7 channel options. Aperion Audio has their energy amps with 2, 3, 5, and 7 channel options available. OSD offers their Nero home theater multi-channel amps, offering 4, 6, and 8 channel options. Monoprice offers their Monolith home theater amps, giving you 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 11 channel options. Wow! And last but certainly not least, Stark Sound offers their Fiera 4 and Fiera 8 amps, powering up to 4 or 8 channels respectively. And that about wraps it up, folks. Of course, there are other offerings out there beyond 15 channels from the likes of Trinoff, Storm Audio, and even JBL. But that's when you're dealing with units that cost as much as a car. So yeah, if you have a budget for those, you already know about what they can do, let's be real. I wanted to stay with products at least under $10,000 with this video, since even that is way more than most people can afford for a single AVR or pre-pro, including myself. So I hope it cleared up any confusion you may have had or highlighted some products you weren't aware of. And now it's your turn. Is 13 channels worth it to you, or is that just overkill in your listening space? Out of all the items I went over in this video, which is your favorite and why? Are you now thinking about sticking with AVRs, or are you contemplating taking that next step and getting separate sometime soon? Let's start a conversation, people. And with that, this world is crazy as it is, so it only makes sense to be kind to each other out there. Don't just watch TV and movies, Witness the incredibly immersive experience of a 13-channel system. And of course, always be listening